massive win last night over the Cats. Tonight, the Brisbane Lions looking to not go 0-2. They take on Melbourne, who are fantastic in week one up at the Gabba. Huge Friday Huddle coming your way. New segment. The Chiefs quiz is back. We'll speak to Dane Zorko. We've got a very, very special guest and a few other things to get through. I look around the room. It's only been 7 days, but I've missed these gentlemen enormously. The captain is here, Luke Darcy. Hello to you, Guru.
Hello, Howie. Great to be alongside you, and great to have in my hand a McDonald's VIP gold card, Howie, which is the golden ticket in town. Thanks to our great friends at McDonald's for their ongoing support for 25 years. And I know Chief's got one, and that will be well used.
Hello, Chief. Thank you to Maccas. We all got one, didn't we, Duke?
I've got one. Nate's got one.
Damo's got one.
I didn't get one, so didn't get one.
Mine's got my name on it.
I know. Well, you know,
VIP,
last week how you
says.
said I wasn't on the promo, was it?
The whole press release that you and Joel's released to the public, there were 58 names there of people on Triple M Footy and no M. Howard.
No, I've got a feeling it's just about time I rung Hutchie. Because I'm not sure.
Well, he sacked you once.
He did sack me once.
You're doing
as well.
a little bit of pro bono work here, eh?
I'm just saying, if I'm no longer a valued member of the team,
So
then
if anyone's got a Macca's gold card, it'll be Hutchie. So we had to sort you out with one of those.
Your card won't be as well used as BT's, though. BT runs the magnetic strip off it.
a big game of footy coming up, which we'll talk about in probably an hour and 45 or so. But we've got a few things to get through before that. Now last week, first segment, start of the show, we gave the new ball to Nath. And I saw it as like we had, in the Chief, we had Pat Cummins, we had Darce, we had Mitchell Stark, and we gave it to Marcus Stoinis. And it didn't go well.
Bowl.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Todd Murphy, maybe?
Yeah, sort of your Jeremy Coney. And it didn't go well. But
That's more like it. Jeremy Coney's the perfect one.
But you blokes have got stuff today, I'm led to believe. So are we giving you the new ball again?
Well, I think we've redeemed ourselves tonight. Do you think
we'll be the judge of that?
Yeah,
Hasn't happened
I'm
yet.
happy for you to do
How
it.
do you
Yeah.
think they went? How do you think they went at the start last week?
Oh, dreadful.
It wasn't great,
It's
was
worst
it,
I've
Brownie?
ever heard,
We,
mate.
we weren't great last week. But
Insipid.
we've
I
gone,
was pathetic. I'll put my hand up.
Yeah.
I had a bad start last
and you
week.
threw me under the bus
Yep.
by giving me nothing. But
And I had a bad start today.
We've
too,
done a little
to my day.
investigation this week, Howie.
Have we?
Which we're just finalising even as we go to air.
Right. So are we doing it now?
We just need legal clearance on one aspect of it. We've conducted a Nick McKenzie style of investigation into someone in the box.
Is it me?
Now it's someone lanky.
Because I always get concerned, Howie, when you walk in and you think you're a little bit early and everyone else is here and they're in a meeting and they're talking, you kind of think, I wonder who's getting ambushed
And I
tonight.
worked into the same sort of meeting, Chief. So you can't pick on Howie 2 weeks in a row.
No, you can't. So I'm not lanky though.
We've recorded
You are.
an interview today, which I think is pretty explosive, but we're just needing to sign off on the legalities attached to it.
Was Nathan
And-
involved in the
Yes, he
interview?
was.
Oh,
No,
no.
he and I,
One of
we,
Australia's highest ranking politicians we spoke to. We're
Yeah.
just getting it legal at the moment.
You're not
Right.
going again.
Do we-
mate. You're not going
and we've got a
again.
file on it. Do you want to see? Do we?
You're not going.
I'll hold it. Hold it for the second seg.
Okay.
Hold it.
Be
So big
careful.
interview coming up.
Be careful is all I'll say.
I think we're going to.
After we embraced this investigation, we reminded you might have warned us off last year, which we had forgotten about before we started this second investigation.
Just
So-
to go with the modicum of truth was all I said last year. If you could just bring some element of fact to the table,
There's a
then
lot of
we're comfortable.
elements.
So second segment, we're going with that.
Confident, Nath.
We're just waiting the last little bit. Yeah, just that last little sign off on the person who's given his
Look how happy
time.
Nate is.
I need a
confident,
laugh.
Duke. He's
I need a
confident.
laugh because
Yeah.
I had a bad week last week. I've had a bad start to the day. It's my day on a Thursday to get all the kids ready. Christina goes to work early, and
Friday today.
they had casual day today. So gold coin donation, and I didn't know it was Harmony Day. I just thought, and they had an assembly that Helena wanted me to go to. Got to be there at 3 p.m. Little did I know that Harmony Day is you got to get dressed up as your heritage. So that would be her mum's Danish and her dad's Croatian.
Christina's
I rock
Danish.
in. Christina's Danish and half Croatian. I rock in. So Helena's up the front, Jude's up the front, Florence up the front. Helena's got a Guns N' Roses t-shirt on. Jude's got a Run DMC t-shirt on. And Florence has got a Miffy dress on. Everybody else is in heritage gear. And I walk in, I thought, oh dear.
That's bad
Run
parenting, Nate.
DMC.
Run DMC, yeah.
A bit of a segue in a way, Chief. You played in 4 premierships, 1,254 goals. Who was the best leader you played under?
Oh, that's a difficult one. A lot of good leaders.
Tucky, Michael Tuck.
Michael
Himself?
Tuck was great because Tucky never spoke. He just led by, no, and I don't say that in a negative way. Tucky led by actions because he was this wiry build, not unlike yourself, Howie. He was a little bit tougher. But he just, he would put his head over the ball. He would go wherever he had to go to get the job done and didn't care. He'd get whacked. He'd give a few whacks out. He was hard as nails, Tuggy, and just brilliant. And I love a bloke that can lead without all the rigmarole of the big speeches and banging on about this, that, and the other.
So you got
Lazy
Michael
7
Tuck.
flags, Tucky.
7 flags. And Darce, you played in 7 or 8 preliminary finals. Who led from the front at the Western Bulldogs?
Well, when I walked in the door, Scott Wine was the captain, just won the Brownlow medal, had a big influence on our group. Because Grant was a good leader.
You're a good leader yourself.
Well,
You were?
No, I'm not sure. But
Absolutely, you were, Duke.
contributed an enormous amount.
Led you
Browny.
out the door, didn't he?
And didn't
yeah.
speak to me for 2 years.
So along those lines, unbeknownst to me and probably all of us, we have got a up-and-coming leader in the room that has displayed some leadership here at Triple M football. And I look at across
That's a
my little
surprise.
thick-haired mate over there, Nathan Brown.
Oh,
I was given a bit of information during the week that the Sunday Rub, which has got a few new characters on it now because Ross is no longer there, so they got Stevie J, who did a fine job.
Good inclusion.
They got Dale Thomas. They did their first broadcast, and someone within the box told me they were just walking out, and Nate has assumed captaincy of the team and called them back in for a post-rub game debrief.
Sunday,
which has never been done on Triple M in its history.
Ever.
Nate's called a post-Sunday rub
I'd like to
meeting.
know who's talking in my team.
You're going red now too. Look at
And,
you.
listen, I've got information about what was said, positively and negatively. It's probably not the forum for it.
This is exactly the forum for it.
I'm feeling as though that there might be a bit of Bible bashing going on the Sunday rub because
So-
we know he's very much
So
on the
Nate,
spiritual path.
he called them together. Like everyone wants to leave immediately in Triple M typical style after the game. Nate, did you call the boys together?
I did.
Right. So he went with positives.
See, Mal's right.
From what I can gather, Rabsy, the great producer, did a nice package, so he gave him a pump up. Said, well done, Rabsy, you started the year beautifully well. He then said to Stevie J, which is a massive positive for Stevie, I hope Ross is not listening, Stevie, you are a way better, funnier version of Ross.
I didn't say better version. I just said Ross took 12 months to pick the game up, whereas he took a week.
Apparently, it took Ross 12 months to nail it, and you've nailed it immediately.
Little whack for Ross.
No, that was a positive for Stevie J.
That's such a positive for Big Ross.
Ross
part of the
listens.
team, isn't he,
Ross will
man?
be listening tonight.
Jay-Z
He'd agree with that.
Jay-Z was given a positive for always bringing content. Now he's looked at Daisy, and I heard Daisy. Daisy probably had a few things to work on.
Oh, no, we can't go down.
No, but he would acknowledge that as well.
Well,
But
he shot
I
the lights
didn't, I
out
didn't
last
say
night.
that.
I'm not
no,
sure he
you
would
know what?
acknowledge
You
that.
are-
I just
you know-
went positive with
you
Daisy.
know what Nath went with Daisy from all reports?
Better for the run.
You're better than Duck because you brought a pen. That's the only positive he had for Daisy Thomas.
No.
So you whacked the duck on the way out as well.
And Ross.
You're
I
making
didn't
some
whack the duck.
powerful enemies, Nate.
But he had a couple of positives. But he had a couple of negatives as well.
You've got a leak in your office too, by the way, Browny, haven't you? If Howie's
So-
got
Starting to think I
information.
know who it
Hang
is.
on, we need to
okay.
deal with the negatives
Yeah,
now.
well, this is where I get uncomfortable. This is probably where I shouldn't go with them, Chief.
What do you mean?
Okay. So,
It's twisty leg, Chief.
What do you mean?
so Stevie J is on debut. He's done his best, and he did a great job. I was listening. I thought
You
he was
always
fantastic.
encourage first game.
Yeah,
There's
so-
never anything negative.
So he told him he was better than Ross,
I
etc.
wouldn't have said anything negative.
But he did. But not only did he give him a negative, he tied it into himself. He gave Stevie J, Stevie, one thing you cannot do is yell over the top of the Wingard goal when I'm calling it.
Bit of a broadcasting masterclass from Nate. Stay out of my zone.
Stay out of my zone, but I'm calling it, Chief.
Chief, this is your 25th year at Triple M. Have you ever seen anything quite like that?
It's extraordinary. I also would have thought, Duke, I don't know about you, but normally the producer would sit down and discuss the on-air capabilities of their talent and run through a few things, maybe let them listen back to a few of the things that happened and talk about how it panned out.
Traditionally, that's the way it goes, and traditionally we ignore them. But at least, look, Tanner's tried that once, and we dismissed it pretty quickly.
That wasn't a good
But
meeting,
it's
was it?
probably his role in
So
fairness,
Nate's gone
yeah.
straight to the source. Was that all he had for Stevie J?
No, there was one more negative.
no.
And
Oh,
this
still
is the
going.
one where I'm really uncomfortable.
Was this
So-
recorded almost?
No, so-
your
so-
mail seems good.
So Jay-Z, who'd given a pump up about always bring content, always bring the news. Nathan chipped Jay. I can't believe this in 2023, to be honest, when we're inclusive and sensible and caring of everyone. He chipped Jay-Z for what can only be described as a large facial blemish that he had on the particular day.
He loves doing that, Nate. He gets no greater joy. And we both had cold sores from time to time.
That goit he had on your neck.
He loves it.
Jay had a pimple the size of a satin on his neck. It just stuck. But I did call them in. It's very good mail he got, Howard. But everything was a pump up. I thought it's hard when you come in.
It wasn't,
right?
No, we did.
Just
Maybe
before you
a
go
couple
on,
of
Nate, before you
work-ons,
go
you know.
on, what prompted you to call them back in the first place? What was the driving force behind that?
I was just so excited how the boys performed together. You lose Ross and you lose Duck.
Or
Arguably
were
the
you
greatest
trying
player-
to
Oh,
assume
shut up.
leadership of the group?
No, I wasn't. Arguably the greatest player of all time and the best coach to never win a premiership of all time. So you got Duck and also Ross. And I just wanted to bring them in together and say, what a great job it was. We laughed the whole 2-hour pre-game. The boys did a fantastic job. And there was just a really good feel to the point where Daisy sent out a text this week. He wants to bring around social tennis type thing where you bring in a plate of food on a Sunday afternoon for everyone to share. That's how well we're going on a Sunday.
Plate of food on it.
Lucky Rocket's not there because you need to bring the
Sausage
vegetarian.
For Rocket, he was a vegetarian.
Chief, yeah.
He was
I'm
eating
concerned,
sausage
I'm
rolls.
concerned about Triple M's direction right
So
now.
am I, Chief. So,
But it won't happen
straighten
on
us
a
up
Friday.
as a
It's a
real
great
leader.
Sunday.
As a real leader, post Friday Huddle tonight, are you going to pull us aside?
Maybe. Depends how we go with this. With
Remember,
Darce and Damo.
Duke, in all your time at Clubland, do you ever remember the bloke that's probably renowned for getting best club and actually assuming leadership and trying to call everyone in and have a meeting?
Well, Nate's always been a lot about himself, Chief. So that is an evolution to see Nate assume.
Maybe I've changed, Duke.
You have.
I just want to know what the response will be when Nate goes, "Hey boys, just come back."
Yeah.
Duke will have this one going. A double bird. Everyone will just be walking and it'll be, "See you, Nate."
Well, you're right, Chief. Early days of this show, I reckon it was after our first show, our producer Tunners called us in and gave us.
Crisis meeting, wasn't it?
Our man was the boss at the time. Your man Fitzy was the boss at the time, and hadn't been exactly happy with the show. And 5 minutes before we did our second show, Chief, we're about to run out on the ground, and Tunners just tells us all the negativity that's coming our way, and we'll be lucky to see the end of the season out.
And to your credit, Darce, you regrouped
You did.
and held us together.
You did.
We were at least able to talk in that first
What did you
segment.
actually say
I
to him?
think Chief might have said ship off. might have inspired my preparedness to stand up. But Nate, I get the feeling this is Planet Shakers driven. That you've got
Yeah,
a
actually, I
whole
hadn't thought of that.
new,
That's a good point.
sense of self, which is a beautiful thing, Nate.
I just like to make people good around me, Duke.
Are you going to take the boys down for a shaker session?
If they want to come, the door's always open.
That's a good Sunday session.
Yeah.
Post footy.
Stevie J and the Shakers.
Everyone's welcome.
Now, we thought last week was outstanding, but we thought there was some room for new segments. So I couldn't think of one, so I'm rehashing one I used to do on the Sunday Rub.
Dusted off an old one.
It's called Hot Topics, where I just throw things at you that have happened during the week, not necessarily relating to football, let's be honest, mostly not relating to football, and just get your thoughts. So we get to see a bit more of your personality. It brings a little bit more of you out. But we
And
started...
our depth of knowledge on world topics.
Yeah,
maybe.
and world topics. We'll get to the Submarines in a moment. But I've been watching the footy in the last week. I saw the Dacos boys run around. Chief, you saw them Friday night,
Yep.
as we all did. Harry and his brother Ben, unfortunately, not playing at the moment. You got the DeConings, the Kernos last night. When Ed kicked the goal and Charlie went over there, is fantastic. So I'll start with you, Chief. In your time of watching football, who is the best brother combination you've seen in VFL AFL football that you've seen? Not we don't need to go back to 1930.
No, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I'm probably going with the Jarman brothers.
Yes.
Nice.
And I think people underestimate how good a player Andrew actually was. He had some of the quickest hands in the game as an inside mid. I mean, I've spoken glowingly about Darren and how skillfully exquisite he was as a player, but I think Andrew was a highly accomplished player as well. So I think those two stack up pretty comparably.
Cracker brothers, Phil and Jimmy, as good as it get. The sort of telepathic sense. Did you play against them, Chief? The Crackers?
I reckon there might have been a little
You would have
crossover.
had a
Yeah.
crossover,
You
yeah.
haven't seen any vision of Phil and Jimmy right at the top of the tree.
I'm with Duke. That was mine. I used to love watching them. I think I was about 6 or 7, and the old man used to put it on back in Bendigo, and that was electric.
Unfortunately, you've stolen mine too, because I was at that Arden Street game when it was about round 2 or 3. It wasn't their first games together, but that day that they actually put it on, and we'd never seen anything like it. And failing, or having them already mentioned, I'll go with the Maddens in that regard.
Yeah.
Simon, I reckon, is the greatest ruckman
Superstar.
of all
What
time.
they play, 600
Superstar.
games or something between them? probably?
Easily, yeah. 378 games, Simon. And he also kicked nearly 600 goals, Howie.
Okay. Well, that's a nice way to start things off. Masters next
Justin
week.
was a politician too. like
He
Jake.
was. He was.
True.
Masters
Chief?
next
Another
week.
big lanky bloke.
Masters the week after. You'll see it all on Fox. Cam Smith will be playing. If you missed the latest episode of the Howie Games, which came out
Oh,
Thursday,
yes, I wanted to say that
Cam
to you.
Smith is on that. Now, Tiger Woods, Nate. Will he ever win another major?
No, I don't think he will.
No, I think he's gone. I love him like everyone else, but I think he's finished now, and he's got a few other issues off course again.
He's 1,000,000 to 1.
Right.
He has no chance. He's trying to stay fit and recapture a little bit of his form, but the other golfers are going ahead in leaps and bounds, and the production line just keeps producing new quality young golfers that are coming through. He's got no chance, Howie.
Take Tiger to live golf. He should take the biggest check that's ever been.
Well, they
written
offered
in
him $1
world.
billion.
Well,
Did
that's
they?
that's
They
what
offered
he
him
should
$1 billion.
do. And he
He's
might
already
be
got
the,
$1 billion.
the bridge that brings Live back to the PGA. That's what Tiger should do next.
Okay. Right.
Not gonna win another major.
0 to Tiger. Now, this is one that interests me, and I know Nate's followed this closely. I've got to just get this right. The AUKUS submarine situation. Now we've launched into something called forward defence, which is basically planning for 10 seasons down the track. The 2040s is when we're going to get the hands on the subs.
Supposedly.
Supposedly. It's costing in the region...
Hydrogen subs.
Yeah, but they're nuclear. It's costing in the region of $368 billion, the investment. $368 billion. And for that, from what I can gather from my detailed research, Darce, we get 5 submarines.
8.
How many people do you
Okay.
get on the
Sorry,
8 submarines, Howard?
8. Hey?
How many people do you get on the 8 submarines?
216 people man a nuclear submarine typically.
Well, that's not many, but I'm all for it because from a biblical sense, God flooded the earth once. He wasn't happy with how everything was going. He flooded it.
Geez, I'll be fighting for spots on the
They only
subs
had
then.
arcs back then. They didn't have the submarines, which they
Right.
do now. So you couldn't only get not too many people on the ark, just the animals.
Few animals.
And I think subs are a good idea.
Okay, so we get 8 do we?
Because of that.
Right. We've currently got 5 of them. 5 Sam Collins subs at the moment. So we go up to 8.
Yep.
Damo, do you think this is a good spend of 368 bill? Is this
No,
protecting our future?
I'm with Paul Keating on this. It's
Right.
a bad idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
I've never understood what subs do. And I think there's fear of
There's
China.
sort of
Howie.
boats that go underwater,
Yeah,
Guru.
I know, but how do they protect us?
I don't know.
And I reckon if China wants to get us, China will get us.
Well, that's my theory. Chief, what do you think? You're our international diplomat.
Well, I do not claim to be an expert on the subject at all. But
we
I do think we need to invest in these subs. Now, we've tried building conventional subs, right?
Right.
And by conventional, we're talking diesel, electric, lithium-ion battery, non-nuclear,
Right.
for want of a better expression.
You're sounding like
But
an
you need to
expert.
understand that from a geographical location,
Yeah.
we're 4,000 kilometres plus away from anywhere we're going to need them.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
At least.
What is the basic premise of a sub?
Goes underwater.
Stealth. Thank you, Jim.
Still, sorry.
To be able to run that distance, to be able to keep up with the improving technology about how you track underwater craft, it needs to be nuclear driven. That is the only way we can actually get by. Our strategic circumstances have changed. Given we're surrounded by water, we rely on the shipping lanes for imports, exports. There's a bit going on sort of Southern Asia that could affect us in that respect.
I
So we
think Peter
need to be
Dutton was
prepared.
right.
We need to be prepared
They
in
want
this,
to control
in
it.
this respect. And also, let's not forget alliances that we have, like ANZUS, for instance. When you are asked to do something by the US and you're part of an alliance and you've signed treaties and you've got to play your part, they ask, you say yes.
Okay.
So you have to be a part of it.
Now, Mr. Politician, what would you do, Gus?
Can I add a little bit of the Collins
very
class
good.
submarine that
Yep.
we built the Royal Australian Navy
Yep.
last time?
We got
Now,
5
Chief,
of those.
What do they do?
As you said, stealth
Not
is pretty
much.
important. So being quiet under the Collins class are the laughing stock
correct.
of the world.
Yeah.
They were described as being louder than a rock band. They launched them in Sydney Harbour, and the Chinese heard them before they got out of the harbour. They were laughing.
Yep.
How I'm worried that I'm with
Okay.
Cheap, but our $400 billion, have we been rolled again? And by the time 2040 rolls around, they're going, geez, your investment's not quite paying off. How that's my only
Geez,
concern.
they need a big hatch to fit you in, Chief, too.
Where'd that come from?
Gee,
What do you think the first thing I'm testing the torpedo tube out with is? Little bullet head Nate.
That's Orcas. Quick one. Meghan and Harry or the Royals? I've been following this all summer, Darce. Which camp you in?
So I lean Megan's way. Now, it may have been a touch over the top, the Netflix doco and the 14 appearances on Oprah.
Just
But
trying to take down a monarchy.
have you seen the pile on from, what's his name? Jeremy Clarkson and who's the other guy?
Piers Morgan.
They are disgraceful, self-entitled, pompous dicks.
Oh, this is what the segment's for.
And this is good political talk.
At
Yeah.
what point, you put the royal title next to something, forget that is a young mother of two.
Yes.
Some of the language those guys have used is beyond disgrace. They're the real story.
So Meghan and Harry
That
for you.
puts me on Megan's side.
Chief?
I'm not a royalist by any stretch of the imagination, but I couldn't be further removed from Harry and Meghan, who I think are two of the biggest imbeciles on the face of the planet. When you sit there and say we want to get away from public life and then sign a $100 million deal to basically show your life on TV, I think you are dead.
I'm fascinated by Duke's take.
But I will say this, Kate Middleton's a superstar. I think she's the class that shines through out of all of the rest of them, and you can have them.
I'm with the royal family.
You're with the Royals?
Absolutely. I'm fascinated by your point
Is
of
that
view.
a church thing?
No, it's not a church thing.
Okay.
It's just a.
But there were lots of kings back in the day, weren't there?
There was lots of queens too. Yeah,
Damo?
princes.
I don't care for either side of this equation, Howie, but we have to answer it under your rules, and I'm leaning toward the Royals on this one.
Leading up to Melbourne taking on Brisbane at the Gabba, some nice positivity for the hot topics, even on social media, which is a rarity. So we'll be bringing back that next week. Dane Zorko, not too far away. Chief, you're running a quiz again tonight?
We are.
So a bit later on, what's the prizes we're giving away this week? What do we got?
Triple M Mystery Pack.
M Mystery Pack.
Of course, that's a given.
Howie
and,
Games sticker.
I think
Howie Games sticker.
probably dinner at Melbourne Public.
Dinner at Melbourne Public, that was a winner.
That's a nice
Day
prize,
at the
eh?
Shakers with Nate.
Day at the Shakers with Nate
A lap around Albert Park Lake with Damo.
during Grand Prix
Oh,
week.
yeah, in the Camaro.
In the
Camaro,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, no, that is all coming
Maybe
up.
not that
so
one.
And a
don't
cone
ring-
with Leroy. Mate,
Can we talk about this or not?
That's
Are we...
the full Triple M package right there. I think that's outstanding. Who's taking on?
He's happy with that
Is
too.
it Nate Brown? Nate, so it's a win for the listeners.
Thank you,
You
Duke.
don't get those prizes on the AM station, I don't feel.
Exactly.
A big fatty Leroy. Anyway,
Sorry, Leroy.
time for Leroy.
He's a self-proclaimed footy superstar.
I reckon I was probably the most influential player in the AFL.
He fears nothing and no one.
This is all off-air stuff that you're not allowed to talk about on air, but I've gone with it anyway.
And he sees the world a little differently.
Just watching a Komodo dragon eat a monkey.
This is Nathan Brown's Top 5.
What do you got, Noodles?
So I've been noticing you're fascinated with me going to church, and I've been reading the Bible a lot. So I thought,
It's changed
why
you as a
don't we
person,
bring
hasn't it?
both worlds together?
You're doing the religion one last week that Christina that you talked
She cleared
about.
it this week. She cleared
Christina
it this morning.
signed off on this.
Yep, she signed off on this.
Is it fair to say that you've changed and evolved since you
Oh,
found God?
please.
I've become a better
Absolutely.
person, Duke. You know,
You're coming off a pretty low base,
very, very low base. Very low base.
but it's heading in the right direction.
We're
If
We
you
are
look
on the
back
right
at
direction.
you before you found God and you could speak to yourself of a young Nathan, of a 21-year-old, what as a man of the cloth now,
Yeah.
what would you
just
say?
grow up a
sin.
bit earlier, son.
He could have met Christina earlier.
Not
That
everything's a
would've
party.
That's
Okay,
a good t-shirt.
So, a
Okay.
Bible story, bring it back to football.
Okay.
So the story of Samson, Chief. He had the strength of 100 men.
Yep.
So his strength lay in his hair, though. So he used to go out to battles, and he could slay 30 men a day. So he was the strongest man, mortal man of all his time. But when he slept, Delilah cut his hair off.
Right.
So lost all his strength. Then the enemy came and took him away because he had no strength, locked him up, gouged his eyes out. He was in jail, nothing to do. Right?
Our
So
producer's
then-
got his head in his hands at this point.
So
Pretty uplifting story, isn't it?
That's good for Samson.
eventually lets him grow his hair back.
Right.
And he rises
Did he
from
get his
the
eyes back?
dust, and he got his eyes back. And he
They grew back too.
Yeah.
So, is this not the story of the chief? Is this not the story of the chief? Now,
no.
let's talk about the chief.
No hair.
Back when he was playing football,
Yep.
just unbelievable flowing hair,
Yes.
perfect head of hair.
Oh, it's beautiful.
He used to massacre 18 men every Saturday
he
when he
did.
played.
He did.
Unbelievable player. Nobody could hold him. But then the enemy came, just a glancing blow of the head, and all of a sudden the hair fell out. and he lost all his powers for a while.
And the diving bell
while
helmet.
Samson was imprisoned, he was imprisoned in a helmet. So Samson came back, grew his hair back. The only difference in this story, the chief didn't grow his hair back. So that's the story of Samson and the chief.
That's number 5.
It's a long bow.
I know, I liked it. Yeah, I saw this on Cam Guthrie. Guthrie.
Lost his strength, you think?
Well,
Cut his hair off.
A fantastic footballer. Shaved his head.
Can't get a kick this
Been a
year.
bit quiet.
Second one is Joseph. The story of
So
Joseph.
this is number 4, you mean?
Yeah. Now, he was sold by his brothers. So he was sold by his brothers into slavery. He doesn't know why. He was a very powerful man at the time. But he went to the bottom. So he was rock bottom. But he rose up again. So
He had a
sold
coat,
by his
didn't he?
brothers. He came back and he became the second strongest man or the second most powerful man in Egypt. Now, this is the important part.
Okay.
The second most powerful. So how do I bring that back to a football sense?
Yep.
This is Brodie Grundy. He was sold by his brothers, which is the Collingwood Football Club. He's come back and he is now the second most important man at that football club behind Max Gawn. He is the most important. So that is number 4. That is Joseph
He's got a
and
Bible.
Brodie Grundy.
He's got a Bible look to him.
Sort of
Absolutely.
understand why this didn't get up week 1.
Chief, no, Luke, as our leader, do we progress for the final 3 or do we leave it?
Yes.
I think we keep him going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm liking it.
I like it.
Okay, this is the story of Joshua 3,330 years ago on October 30. Joshua was in a battle against
pretty
the
accurate.
Amorites, which they were on the verge of winning.
Okay.
But night time was going to come. He asked God if he could make time stand still because he didn't want them to get to dark so they could regroup and they could come back the next day. Time stood still, Damo, this day, and then he finished them off. Now, I go back to the 2010 AFL Grand Final. St Kilda were coming hard at Collingwood, and they needed time to stand still, the Pies, and the time stood still when the draw came. So that allowed them to then go away and rejuvenate, and they came back the next week, and they won the grand final. Time stood still in the rematch as well when Rui had the ball up here and had to get it all the way down to his. It stood still for 5 seconds to allow his shot. But that's the story
That will
of
get over to
Joshua.
the US,
Okay.
and that will not be well received, mate.
2 more.
2 more.
The story about Jesus walking on water is a fascinating one, Damo. So the apostles were stuck in a boat out at sea. It started to get a bit rough. They were all worried what was going to happen. All of a sudden they see Jesus walking out on water. And Peter asked Jesus, can I walk? And he goes, come to me, trust me. And he didn't trust him. He fell in the water. And that's where the term ye of little faith comes. So Jesus was walking on water, the only man too. Now, I go back to 2005, those 10 games. That I felt like I was walking on water in those 10 games. I
Referenced himself.
was going that
He
well.
is Jesus.
I was walking
He's called
on
himself
water, the most influential player in the game,
Is that not
self-declared.
sacrilegious?
And the last one, Chief, is the story of Abraham, sacrifice and loyalty. So God asked Abraham to prove his loyalty by sacrificing his one and only son, who he loved. Now, so they set out in the region of Moriah, and when they got there, Abraham built an altar with sticks and put his son Isaac on it, and he was about to take out the dagger and sacrifice his son,
his
where
own son.
God bellowed down, no, you have proven your worth. You'll get kingdoms and glories. Thank you. Do not do what you're about
So
to
he was
do.
about to.
Son was okay.
The son was okay.
But he was about
This-
to.
He was about to prove his worth. This brings me back to the story of Luke and Sam. Now, Sam
Could you see that coming? Or
Yes.
Luke sacrificed Sam to the tune of loyalty to the Bulldogs and cost him $1 million over the next 5 years. So it's pretty much the story of Abraham, Isaac, Luke, and Sam.
not? That's your number 1, is it? Look at him.
I like it, Jake.
Yeah, that's pretty good, Brownie.
Very good.